I am here live today to chat with you a little bit about your Purposeful Podcast. I know not everybody here wants to start a podcast, but actually the question that I have gotten from Melissa this morning to answer on this Q&A, I think will be relevant to pretty much anybody, no matter what you're working on. So Melissa asked this morning, because I put a little post in the Facebook group, her question is, do you think doing this, like creating this course, has made you a better podcaster? And I thought that was such a great question, really thoughtful and like not about the nitty gritty of the course, which is what I thought I was coming on to talk about today. But because she asked this question, I thought I would mention it. And I've also, just as a little bit of a side note, I invited Heather Onken and Jennifer Self to come in if they're available. I think Heather just showed up hi Heather, to talk about their experience in the course, or to type about their experience in the course. And also so that I would have someone to chat with going live, because I decided to do this a little bit last minute. But again, Melissa asked, do you think doing this, creating the course, has made you a better podcaster? And as I've been thinking about this since she asked the question this morning, I really kind of had to admit to myself that I've wanted to do something like this for a really long time. And yet I found myself, maybe where you are or have been as well, asking, like, do I know enough to teach others? And really questioning if I had value to offer. And what actually made the difference for me, I think, in being able to pull the trigger finally, was partnering with someone who was skilled in areas that I was weak. And so every time you see your Purposeful Podcast logo or registration page, it's going to have a picture of Natalie Arndt on it. And she was a guest on the show and partnered with me in this venture. And she knows so much about personal branding. That's, her entire business, about messaging, SEO, keywords, search terms, all of those little things that, like, if you're not strategically minded about that kind of stuff, you can just kind of like blur, like your face just kind of goes blank. You're like, I have no idea. And I learned so much from Natalie teaching this course alongside her. Oh, Heather, yes. I mean, I think it makes such a difference to get to work through some of the challenges alongside other people. That was the other thing that I wanted to say, was like getting to learn together. So, there's the saying that, like, once you teach somebody something, you actually know it even better than before you taught it, or the work that you had to do to be able to teach something grows you and your knowledge and expertise in that very topic. And so working together with you guys, you said, Heather, that it gave you confidence to start your podcast. And I think every single one of us in there learned something about ourselves, about kind of how to face some of the mindset struggles that come along with following a dream. I know that I have tweaked my SEO, keywords, and search term game for sure. And I've noticed a difference. I have begun to attract more of the right people to my audience for the podcast. And I think I owe that to working with Natalie and working alongside Natalie to get this course out into the world. Also, getting to work on this together, like to teach others, has caused me to kind of look at my own processes and tweak and refine things that maybe I put into place a couple years ago. And I've never gone back to be like, is that how I still want to do this? I just, turned on this process that I was doing to produce my podcast, and then I let it go, which is fine for a period of time, right? That's why we create systems. But sitting down with all the students in the course and with Natalie and figuring out, like, is this the way I want to do it? Or is it still working for me and the podcast and my listeners in the same way? So I think that's been really helpful, just to examine practices that I'd kind of taken for granted. And Heather, I'd love to know, while you're here, like, what did you think was going to be the hardest part of podcasting? And after the course, was it actually as hard as you thought? So take a minute to think about that and type that in the comments if you have a second. And then finally, the third thing, or I'm not even sure if it's the third thing, but the last thing I wanted to say in response to Melissa's question about how teaching has made me a better podcaster is just the opportunity to see how somebody else does something or how they approach a certain challenge helped me as well to kind of look at their way, their process, their system, and say, is this how I want to do it? How is it different than how I'm currently doing it? And then how can I improve on that idea or interpret that idea for the ways that I'm producing my show, or the language that I use to share things out, or the way that I use Instagram or Pinterest or whatever to promote my podcast. So it was really helpful to just like have this designated time to sit down, process, and rethink some of the things that I have been doing now for 5 years and could probably continue to do it that way. But I feel like getting a chance to teach has taught me more about how to think about the things that I'm doing and how to tweak and improve them. So, there's Heather. I was going to say, Facebook doesn't tell me if you're typing, but Heather says the tech end was the scariest. Not knowing where to host, the equipment, all the behind the scenes stuff that isn't very fun. Yeah, and I feel like there are these days, because podcasting has gotten so hot, there are so many options that part of it is like decision fatigue, because you're like, hi, Melissa, I just answered all your questions, or I answered your question with multiple answers. But decision fatigue, what is a podcast host? What's the purpose of it? How do I even know which one to choose? Everybody says I should pick Anchor because it's free, but what's the cost of that later on for choosing the free tool? Natalie specifically addresses that. She started with Anchor and then transitioned, I think, over to Podbean. Oh yeah, don't be sorry. I just answered your question first because it was such a good question. Hi, Megan. Megan, I'd love to hear any questions you have or thoughts about podcasting. But now I'm getting distracted. That's so weird that you just got the notification. Okay. Well, thanks, Facebook. But the decision fatigue, that's what I was talking about how do you know if what somebody else says is the right thing to choose. And in some cases, it's helpful to just have somebody make that decision for you and then you go on. But it's also, as I was saying, Natalie chose Podbean after some time, and she just talked in the course about just how annoying it was that when she transitioned from Anchor to Podbean, that none of her stats transitioned over. So if she ever wants to know like how a particular episode is doing, she has to go back and log into both websites, which, it's just tedious. So we talk about stuff like that in the course, like what impact is a decision you make today going to have a year or 2 years from now? That's the other thing that I think is really helpful about taking a course and engaging with other students as you're learning a new skill like this is I think sometimes when we start something, we say, well, I only have to do it for like a month or two. And if I don't like it, I can quit. And I don't know what the specific stat is, but there are so many podcasts that like start and stop, or start and just quit or disappear. Like you are listening to a show, you really like it, and the podcaster's all of a sudden gotten weary and they just disappear. I don't know the percentage of podcasts that don't make it past a year, but I think it's pretty high. And so our hope and our support, or our desire with this course, is that you would actually be able to endure get past some of those early hurdles of learning something new and doing something hard that you're not actually getting a ton of feedback on at the beginning, so that you can persevere. I think once you get past that first year, there's a pretty good chance that you're going to be able to persevere, long into the future for as long as you desire. So, okay. I stopped scrolling the comments because I was getting distracted. My brain doesn't really function so great anymore. Anyway, okay, Megan, you're actually really interested because you might have something up your sleeve. Can you tell us more? Or do you have any questions? Let's see, Heather, I definitely would have been overwhelmed and probably would have been too overwhelmed to start if you had not broken things down for us. Yeah. I mean, it's so, if you've never done it, it's like anything else, like learning how to downhill ski, right? Like someone's got to teach you how do you put your skis on? How do you go downhill if it's really steep? Like all the things that, it's just helpful to have somebody walk alongside you, stand right there with you, hold your hand and say, here's what worked for me, or here's a couple things you might try, or, this kind of microphone is going to work best in this kind of room. I am learning some lessons about microphones in my new office. So Heather, it was so great to have you in the course, and I've been so just proud to watch you operate with consistency and continue to persevere and learn along the way. Your podcast is great. You guys go check out her podcast. It's called Connecting in the Chaos. And it's about nurturing our friendships and how we can be a better friend in all kinds of seasons of life. All right. I'm going to take a sip of water and give any of you a chance to ask a question or make a comment. Megan, I'm so curious. Megan was a guest on the podcast, I don't even know, a couple of years ago, and she's coming back for a mini interview in a couple of weeks here, sometime in August. So that'll be fun to share. Again, I'm planning to start a podcast soon and literally know nothing about the technical side of it. So I need all the insight. Oh, don't let that stop you, right? This is learnable. This is totally learnable. When people say, I don't think I have what it takes, or I don't think I can figure out the tech, or that feels like too many decisions for me, I'm overwhelmed. What I really want to say is to rethink that mindset and to come up with a different way to say it. Like, this feels really hard, but I am capable of learning new things, because you totally are. You totally are capable of learning new things. Heather, it is hard, much harder than I thought, but I'm sticking through for the long road. And Heather, you've had some other challenging things happen along the way too, unrelated specifically to your podcast. But I think as you persevere, it's going to grow you, and God's going to use it. I totally believe that. Well, does anybody else have any questions they want me to answer? This is learnable. It's totally learnable. If you saw any of my Instagram posts, I was like, you could Google it, and there's 844 million responses to how to start a podcast. So we're going to narrow that down in the course. You don't need 844 million ways to do something. We're just going to pick one or two. Well, okay. So I was going to flip the camera and walk you through, I'm leaning into all the learning opportunities. Yay. I'm going to flip the camera and walk you through a couple things here. So I don't know if this is close enough to my screen, but we're going to see how this goes. So this is the sales page. Doors opened on Monday, and there's sweet Heather and her talking about gaining confidence and launching her podcast. Megan, you can totally do it. So the pricing is down here at the bottom. So you can do, this flash sale pricing is really only until I get all the modules uploaded, which I thought I was going to be able to finish by Friday, but it's probably going to be the end of July. But motivation to get started. The first 3 modules are up, and I am recording new stuff for module 4, and then 5, 6, and 7 are going to be up there shortly. Or you can do a payment plan if that works best for you. A bunch of frequently asked questions, Megan, if you want to go check that out. And then here is what the course learning area looks like. So you would click in to look at a module. But here's what's covered in module 1, brand clarity. Megan, you probably know a bunch of this kind of stuff, but your unique value, ideal client listener, messaging and content pillars, keywords and search terms, naming your podcast. Here's some live video. Heather, there you are. Oh, the community. I know. It's so fun. It makes such a difference. I want to go back actually to look at module 2, since Megan, that's what you said you were most interested in. So in module 2, we talk a little bit about ideal clients again, choosing a host, recording tips and tricks, including our microphone recommendations, equipment options related to recording, editing, interviewing, like how all things are different depending on if you're doing a solo show or an interview show. Talk about show structure, seasons and breaks, publishing frequency, and episode length. Can I drop the link in the comments? That sounds really adventurous. Let me see if I can do that. Yes, I can. There you go. Let me know if that doesn't work for you, Megan. Oh, thank you. I'm really excited about it. It's such a great opportunity to get to work together. And I know what I was going to say. August 6th is our, well, not first, but it will be our first for new students, office hours. So, yes, Heather, finding some cheerleaders to cheer you on is so important. You'll want to give up, but to have those people point you back to your why. Yes. Oh, good. Glad the link worked. So we will do office hours once a month on Zoom. And Heather, if you want to make any comments about what that's been like for you, that'd be great. So the next one is August 6th. I'm trying to do them every kind of first Friday of the month in the afternoons. Megan, I can't remember if you're still on Pacific time. I know you moved, but that is basically just, the course is self-paced. So you'll go through the modules on your own, but Heather and Jennifer and Brandy are in the videos with me and Natalie. And so it'll feel like you're working through it with some other students. The Facebook group is always available to students. And then once a month, we'll get on Zoom. At this point, I have it scheduled for an hour, but if we need 90 minutes, like if more people join the course and have questions and want to come on and we can like fight through some of the battles together in office hours, I'm so happy to do that with you guys once a month on Zoom. And that's totally included. And that is included for the lifetime of you being in the course. So Heather and Jennifer have both continued to be part of office hours, even though they've already launched their courses or their podcasts. Yes, it's a great time to ask questions. You're in Central now. Great. Okay. So it would probably be, I think some of them have been scheduled at 1:00 Mountain. Some of them have been at 2. I don't know if that time works for you, but we can kind of see what works. I picked Fridays because I feel like, if you've been working on stuff all week long, it's helpful to kind of be able to gather your questions together and know this is when I'm going to have a chance to get those questions answered or to dialogue with some of the other students and with me. So yay. Okay. Anybody else have anything they want me to cover? Heather, I come with questions, but also I know I show up to see your faces too. That's why we do it on Zoom. It's so great. And I mean, sometimes it's just one of you that's been there. And so we end up getting to just connect and talk about podcasting and the challenges or whatever else is going on. So anyway, I don't want this to be super long. Megan, if you have any other questions or if anybody watching this on the replay has more questions, just feel free, send me a DM, whatever. You can also find me on Instagram if you prefer that. You can DM me over there. Or you can email me, merit@meritonsa.com. Is there a group or anything to... Yes. So we have a Facebook group that's private, just for the students in the course. And so that's accessible 24/7. Currently, actually, the original trainings are all in there without editing. And so you could actually, sign up for the course, join the Facebook group, and have access to everything that we talked about all along the way as Heather and Jennifer and Brandy were learning and getting ready to launch. So yes, Facebook group, always available, once a month, office hours. The course. Oh, this is it. I got it. So like I said, all the replays from the original trainings are in the Facebook group in kind of the educational modules there. But what I've been doing is breaking them up by topic as we've taught them and condensing them into more bite-sized videos. So when you're in Member Vault, which is where the course is hosted, so when you're in this place the modules, and I'm going to add this as well, but you'll see each of these modules and I'm going to add the time of like, we spent 7 minutes talking about naming your podcast, or we spent 10 minutes talking about messaging and content pillars, so that you know how long or short each training is. And you can just, pick the ones that you want to digest in the time frame that you have. So if you're like, I only have 15 minutes today to learn, okay, I'm going to go learn this one thing in the course. So that's what I love about breaking it out into this site called Member Vault. And there's also, this is really cool, Heather, and kind of new to you and new to me. Member Vault has this kind of gamification where you can kind of compete with other students to show your progress in what you've done. They also have quizzes that I can set up. So like once I get everything uploaded, I'm going to go in there and see how I can kind of make this more fun. Because I love those little, like incentives to learn that this really cool software provides. So, oh, Megan, that is really exciting. I love how God does that. I had somebody else say, a couple emails recently of people saying stuff like that. Like, oh, I can't believe this is coinciding perfectly with what I'm dreaming about right now. So Heather, I know, right? God is so good. So I'm going to wrap this up. Both of you, thanks for coming on and commenting and engaging here. Look forward to connecting with you, Megan. Let me know what other questions I can answer, and hopefully see you in the course. Bye.